Good morning, everybody. Hope the Predicted Trades family is doing well. I'm going to dig right into prep here. As we can see, we've been on a steady selling for the last couple of weeks. After a good run up, we've pulled back to all of our daily moving averages, and now overnight we've slipped a little bit below the daily 200. We can see we have our last bounce point right at about that 3,900. Yeah. From back here, after we started a drive, held daily moving averages, held above 3,900, made that run up to about that 4180 where we topped out. Now we're back. So, just to say, we do have some key levels below that they might be trying to take us to for a little bit of a double bottom kind of retest off of that last run up bottom, right? So, overall, looking at today, yesterday we fell to that 4-hour squeeze bottom. We kept popping off of it, but we kept returning to it in that daily 200. Overnight, slipped below. Now we're coming up near it to try to test. We do have some economic data coming out today. Some initial jobless claims, productivity, and then it's pretty clear till after the bell, at least as far as what Market Watch is showing. Tomorrow we do have a little bit at 10 a.m., a couple of Fed speakers, but kind of light. Next week, just some jobs data, ADP employment, trade balance, more jobs data, and beige book, the Fed budget, which can sometimes cause an interesting reaction. More jobless claims next Thursday, more jobs data next week, pretty light week, right? So, if we're just looking at price action, know that we do have a little bit of data, or the unemployment data coming out at 8:30 could be very interesting. And it's going to be likely an interesting reaction, going to hold some weight. The unemployment for, I'm trying to think back, we had that rally up, and then the jobs data came out, kind of shook the market a little bit. I'm not saying it, started this selling or led to all this selling, but was definitely a key factor that started to jolt us. Let's see how the numbers come out and the reaction. It could be that we drifted down a little bit lower, and we're hovering near yesterday's lows, so that if the reaction is good, we're just right back up into yesterday's range, and all these folks would be trapped, and any longs taken here wouldn't be underwater, right? We could still have a negative reaction where we just keep tanking. Everyone that's been loading short is going to cash out, and then we might chop. Any number of things. Key levels below. We've got our overnight low, 39.25. We have a very big key level, 39.22. If that little 3-point zone down at the bottom of this 30-minute squeeze can't hold, then we're going to 3,900 for that test of that recent low that sent us up. In fact, I have an old zone here. I'm just going to extend it over. Looks like it sits just a hair lower. Where's that? Oh, sorry, they're different drawing sets. Yeah. Basically, basically a 15 point, no, okay. Yeah, 15-point zone, 10 to 15 point zone, right around 38.95. Centered around 38.95. Either way, it was just kind of an old zone of support that we got above, held, came back, tested, yada, yada, yada. Let's go back to our normal. So overall, we want to see us try to hold that 39.25, 39.22 on any morning dips for upside. We'll have to see how the reaction goes in an hour, but overall, that's the first key zone to hold. If it gives out 3900, should that give out 3880 and 3878 big key level, and the bottom of, I believe, a 2-day squeeze. Since our 1-day squeeze fired, I mean, it disappeared back here, we didn't pop back up, so it has fired to the downside. We can see that because we have that red indication. It turns F to let you know when it's firing, and then it stays either red or green to let you know which direction it fired. So, that's the key points to the downside to watch. 1, 2, 3. To the upside, we did a good job holding above that 39.41. We didn't even really get to test it yesterday. And now we're pulling back up in that range and struggling at it. So we need to get through that 39.41, get through that daily 200, 39.50, then get up to 39.61, back near yesterday's highs. We were topping out kind of like that 39.70, right near that, where that daily Keltner is. And then beyond that, the daily 8 has now crossed below the daily 50. Sometimes when these things cross, if we get an interesting reaction, that's the target for today. It engulfs yesterday's price action, gets back to yesterday's pre-market high. So that's the big key target to the upside, where the daily 8, daily 50 sit at 39.90, 39.96. And then past that it'd be 40.20 and 40.30, where the daily 21 now sits. So we've got our targets to the downside, targets to the upside. Well, let's see what kind of reaction we get today. In Q, down at the bottom of its daily squeeze, it's saying it's starting to fire, but we're not technically below it. So if we do rally up today, it will reestablish. It will like not fire basically. We do have the daily 50 below us at 11,800. Pre-market low 11,832. So well, let's see if we can hold basically from 11,800 up to to the pre-market low 11,832. Let's see if that can provide support if we do dip down. If we start to lose that daily 50, we want to target down to 11,677, the second Keltner to the downside. And our daily 200 sits above. So if we can go into the upside and take out pre-market highs around 11,900, daily 200 11,943, and then past that, getting up to 12,000, 12,080, 12,100, 12,080 where the daily 8 sits, 12,150 where the daily 21 sits. So we are looking like we're about to fire the 4-hour squeeze down, looking like we're about to fire the daily squeeze down. Let's use our 30-minute squeeze as a guide early. If we can hold it at the bottoms around 11,800, we might move from this daily 50 back up to the daily 200 at 11,950, which could then propel us back above 12,000. Looks like POC also sits around the daily 200 at 11,950. So we've got support below at the daily 50. We've got POC and the 200 above. Well, let's see if we can hold and take off back to the upside, or if we're going to continue lower, target down to 11,677 and 11,500. Ready. Tight consolidation. Look at the last couple of weeks. Basically, the lows have been around 1875, 1880, and then she fights up to 1910, 1920. So we should play the range till it breaks. Anytime we get near the bottom, we should be going long up to the top, back and forth We can see all the squeezes have set in. And we're pinned between the daily 50, which is below. We haven't tested it yet, but it has caught up to our recent low. So keep an eye on ready early. We can see that we have a down channel from yesterday and overnight price action. If we can't get going to break this early, we're likely going to revisit the bottom of the squeeze, these squeezes near 1880 and at 1874, which is the recent low that we held last week. So we can hold, if we do see selling early, ready could be an indication that we're going to slip down and revisit squeeze bottoms, MAs that are below lows, yada yada. And as long as we can hold there, we can want to see ready try to get back up above 1890, back up above 1900. And then the daily moving averages, daily 8, 1905, 1904. The daily 21, 1912. And then that's the top of the squeeze, back up at that 1920. Either way, let's see if ready can hold early. Or let's see early if ready is going to get through this trend line from yesterday and overnight highs. If it rejects it early and starts tanking, we're probably going to get down to pre-market lows, last week's lows, the daily 50 at about 1874, 1875. As long as we can hold there, I want to play it back up to 1900, 1910, 1920. Moving on. YM. YM has a one-day squeeze that has opened up and fired, but we have a two-day squeeze that was sitting there to also catch us. YM hasn't made it down to the daily 200, which sits at 32,400. We got close yesterday. Overall, YM's actually not down so hard or too bad in comparison. Yeah, in fact, it's a little green, while the other indices are a little negative. So keep an eye on YM, see if it's going to try to lead early. 32,800, very big key level. Now that we're below it, might be resistance at the top of this 30-minute squeeze. That sends us back down to visit pre-market lows at 32,640. Call it 32,650. If we start to lose that 650, we want to probably target down to yesterday's lows near 32,530, psych level 32,500. Also have a daily Keltner right there. But if we can hold up pre-market lows, and or if we have a good reaction to the data coming out at 8:30, if YM can get going over 32,800, when we target up to 32,900, 33,000, where the daily 8 now sits, and 33,100, where the top of the 4 hour sits. Apple has made it down to the bottom of a daily squeeze, which is just starting to establish. I kind of like that as compared to getting one that's been well established, getting down to the bottom and starting to fire. When they start to establish, it can be a good spot for Apple to reverse. So keep an eye on staying above 143. If we do start to slip, pre-market lows at 143.6. We're basically looking to hold up that 143, 143 and a half, let's call it. We are a little bit below the zone that we arrived back to yesterday at the lows with this gap down on Apple. So if we can hold 143, 143 and a half, looking for Apple to get back up to 144 and a half, 145, and then try to push back through 146 up to 147 where the daily 200 sits. If we give out that 143, you want to target down to 141 where the daily 50 sits, 141 and a half where the next Keltner to the downside sits. So zone below. Let's see if we can hold up pre-market low and 143. If not, go into that zone below. If we can hold it up, trying to fight through this zone above to make it back up to where we were holding before yesterday. Apple was very weak yesterday. Let's see if they were just trying to get back to tag some targets before and then recover right back up, or if we're going to keep slipping back to that daily 50 below. Amazon made it back to key level at 91. Still has its 4-hour squeeze intact, so let's see if we can hold it. Premarket lows pretty much right at 91. And try to fight back up above 93 to make it to the daily 50 at 94. And the daily 8, which sits pretty much at 95. If we start to lose at 91, my next key thing is down at the next Keltner down at 87. That's if we keep slipping, lose 91 and 90, and fire these 4-hour squeezes to the downside. Google. So they brought it back to a little zone I have here at 89, 89 and a half. That's where it's been holding all week. Yesterday, actually didn't look too bad compared to other names on the market. So let's see if we continue to hold 89, 89 and a half. Looking forward to try to get back above 91. 91 and a half for the daily 8 sits, and if we can get going past that, target up to 93 and a quarter, let's call it, with the daily 15. Daily 50 sit 93.75 where the daily 21 sits. Let's see, Meta. Definitely one of the stronger names in tech. Still has somewhat bullishly stacked MAs. The 8 is still above the 21. With this little gap down. Basically, it's all about, can it hold pre-market lows, since we are now, since we're lower than yesterday's lows. If we start to lose pre-market lows around 171.5, we probably want to target down to 170 and 169 where the daily 21 sits. That would engulf the last 2 days. But if we can hold up pre-market lows, or maybe even that 170, if we get back to it, kind of the last spot we bounced before the run up a couple of days ago. But if we can hold one of those two places, looking for Meta to try to get back up to kind of yesterday's lows where it closed around 173.5, kind of the pre-market high as well. If we can get through there, looking forward to try to get back to 175, 177 where we were kind of topping out the last couple of days. But yeah, let's see if they, basically we want to see what the reaction is on the market, and if it's good, we want to pay attention to names that have been holding up and stronger lately, and Meta has been one of those names. Microsoft. So it's made it back to the daily 50. Pre-market lows around 245. If those start to give out, target down to 241, where the next Keltner, the downside, sits. But if we can hold up 245 and this 4-hour squeeze bottom, looking for Microsoft to get back above 247.5, get back to 250 near yesterday's highs, and kind of the middle of this consolidation so far this week. If we can push past 250, looking to, we have all of our moving averages in between 252 up to 254. We have the daily 8, 200, and 21 all in there. So those are the targets if we can get past 250. Netflix. Setting new lows over even through last week's low yesterday and over today. I do have the next key target to the downside. Sorry, kind of hard to see. Trying to fix it. There we go. Yeah, okay. So it's all about, can we hold 310, 311, pre-market lows 311. We start to lose that, target down to that key zone at 306 and a half up to 307 and a quarter. If we start to lose that, then we're looking down to 302 and a half, where the next Keltner sits, and 300. At that point, if we do get down there, that is getting a little oversold. That is third Keltner to the downside. Big psych level 300. So let's see if they're going to fully take it there. But if not, we want to see, watch for that 310, 311, could cause a bounce. If not, target that 306 and a half up to 307. If we can hold either of those, we're going to get through pre-market highs and the lows from yesterday's around 314. And then target up to 317 and a half, 320. The daily 8 sits way up at 327, daily 50 at 330. Well, let's see, they're definitely taking some profit on this bad boy. It could still get a reversal. I mean, it's a very strong after earnings. You know, we've had some selling, so they're taking profit and bringing it back. And you can see we kind of topped out near a key fib level I have, and we have now retraced back down. Let's see if they want to complete that tap and then retrace back up. NVIDIA. Great reaction to earnings, and then just been chilling, coming back a little bit. So again, a name that's looking better if the market is going to have a good reaction today to unemployment, and the market's going to try to push back up to engulf yesterday's selling. We want to play names that have been strong, like Meta and NVIDIA. And maybe a name like Netflix, just because it's a little oversold after a great run up. Just something to keep an eye on with Netflix. She might need a little more time to settle. But either way, for NVIDIA, pre-market lows right near the daily 15 at 223. Let's see if we can hold those. If not, probably want to target down to 220 and then 216 where the daily 21 sits. If we can hold 223, looking for NVIDIA to try to fight back up to, well, at least, let's see, 226 and a half, kind of where we were settling at the daily 8 yesterday, then up to about 230 at the top of where a 30-minute squeeze was established. And if we get past 230, then it's back up to this consolidation. Yeah, let's move on. QQQ. Made it down to the daily 200. Slipping a hair below it today, pre-market. Pre-market lows around 288.2. We also have some squeeze bottoms around 288. So let's see if that can hold on any dips. If not, we're going down to, we want to target down to 286, where the daily 50 sits, 285, big key level. But if we can hold up at 288, looking to get back above 290, where the daily 200 sits. Fight back up to 292, kind of where we were struggling yesterday at VWAP. And then past that, you want to target to 295, 296 where the daily 8, daily 21 sit. SPY. All right, pre-market low, 391.85. 30-minute squeeze bottom near 392. We have fought back up to one of my key zones here at 392.6, 393.5. So let's see if we can hold this zone early, or if we do have a good reaction to the data and come back, we want to hold this zone. Daily 200 sits right in there at 393 and a quarter-ish. I just call it 393.15, sorry. So let's see if we can hold this zone. If not, I'm going to revisit pre-market low at 392. If that gives out, target down to 390. 390 is very big. Key psych level and technical analysis level. But if we can hold up any of these zones or the daily 200, looking for SPY to try to rally back up to 395, kind of the middle of yesterday's range. 395.8, big key level. And the daily 50, which sits up at, call it 396.8. So can we hold this zone, get up to the next zone, fight to the next zone, and back to the daily 50? Or are we just going to see more selling, lose the daily 200, and slip down to that 390? Tesla, not the best reaction to that investor day. Man, they're still pushing it lower as we check in on it. If she keeps slipping and loses 185, we want to target down to 180, where the bottom of that daily squeeze sits. If it can catch a bounce at 185, I mean, it's going to be dicey. Frankly, I'd let it figure itself out before playing long. You never know. It could be a quick snapback. Basically, 185 to 187. See if it can hold. Loses 185. Target down to 180. If it can hold and get back above 190, then we want to target to try to reclaim at least to yesterday's lows around 198. Pretty dramatic reaction. I think I read a headline that was just like the master plan that was talked about. You could call it like forward vision or guidance. Was vague. Wasn't very specific. Not a lot of detail. You know how Elon can be. So let's see. There'll probably be maybe a news blip or two today where it's like, well, what we meant was blah blah blah. But definitely going to be a volatile one here on Tesla. We've got our targets above, we've got our targets below. Daily squeeze, bottom might be where they're trying to take it, after it's had a good run up. I mean, if we remember, just back earlier this year, I think Tesla was, down near 100 or $1.20. So it's had a good run up, pulled back to moving averages. With that daily squeeze bottom establishing at 180, it might be a great spot for it to settle before scooping back up to reclaim from the selling. Moving on to VIX. One thing that was interesting yesterday on VIX is that 21 level. We fought up to it, we couldn't really get through it. And I mean, VIX had a great run up here. We've had more selling, things have been volatile. It was holding above 21, but in the last couple of days, slipped below it and then rejected it. Just to say, if we do have a positive reaction to the unemployment data that's coming out, and VIX is back below 21 and can't get above it, we might see VIX, if we're going to see upside in the market today, we want to see VIX get back below that 21, back below where this daily 8 kind of sits, and fall back down near yesterday's lows, where the daily 50 sits at 20.5, and then lose that and come back down to 20 at the bottom of the 4-hour squeeze. That's for upside in the market. But if we're going to see more selling, keep an eye on VIX to actually bounce at this trend line from yesterday's lows, this little channel, and this daily 8 around 20.8 to 20.9. If VIX continues to try to hold that, we could see a bounce where VIX gets back up near yesterday's highs, 21.5, and then tries to take off to 22, 22.5 up above at the top of this 2-day squeeze and daily squeeze that VIX ran into the top of and has been pulling back from. So pulled back to our daily moving averages on VIX. Let's see if it's going to hold, and take off for more selling, or give out those moving averages and start a journey back to the bottom of this 2-day and daily squeeze, which could start a nice rally for the next week or two on the market, where we don't have a ton of economic data or curveballs coming at us. So that's it for prep to date. Hopefully this is helpful for everybody. And it's a free Thursday, so if you are new to predictive trades or want to test out our tools, definitely join our Discord server, link in the description, and pick up a copy. You can load our Beast tools on your options charts, where it will identify the best levels to buy and sell. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Good luck today, and we'll see you in the chat.